Stoicism teaches a truth that many people never discover. You don't manifest by chasing or forcing or begging, you manifest by aligning your inner world with the results you seek. When your mind becomes disciplined, your emotions become steady, your habits become intentional, and your presence becomes calm, life begins to open in ways that feel almost supernatural. Marcus Aurelius lived this truth while carrying an empire on his shoulders. Seneca used it to survive political instability. Epictetus used it to rise from slavery. Einstein used these same principles to unlock genius-level clarity in a chaotic world. What you are about to hear is not fantasy or motivational hype. These are Stoic rules that sharpen your mind and prepare your life to receive what you're asking for. Listen until the end, because every rule you're about to learn builds your character into someone the universe can trust with more. And before we begin, do one thing for yourself: subscribe to the Inner Fortress. This is where mental strength becomes a lifestyle, where emotional clarity becomes normal, and where your growth becomes non-negotiable. Now let's begin with the foundation of every manifestation you'll ever achieve. Rule 1. Focus only on what you can control. True manifestation begins the moment you stop feeding your energy into things that drain your spirit. Many people think desire is enough to attract what they want, but Stoicism teaches the opposite. Nothing comes to a scattered mind. Marcus Aurelius said that when you stop wrestling with the uncontrollable, your inner strength multiplies. In real life, this shows everywhere. The person who tries to force love destroys their self-worth. The person who tries to change others ends up exhausted. The worker who obsesses over outcomes but ignores daily habits never grows. The truth is simple: when you focus on everything, you control nothing. When you focus on what's yours, you begin creating momentum. You control your discipline, your decisions, your attitude, your preparation, your mindset, your actions. The world responds to clarity, and clarity begins by releasing whatever is beyond your reach. Seneca warned that the mind becomes heavy when it tries to manage other people's expectations. Think of how much time people waste trying to predict outcomes, trying to impress, trying to be chosen, trying to fix situations that require time, not pressure. This creates anxiety, fear, and emotional instability. Einstein said the most powerful breakthroughs come when the mind becomes simple enough to see what actually matters. When you filter your focus to the things you can influence, your learning, your habits, your consistency, your self-respect, life becomes lighter. You stop drowning in possibilities and start moving in purpose. You begin building a version of yourself capable of receiving bigger opportunities. The universe cannot reward a distracted mind, but it elevates the mind that is disciplined enough to stay centered. Epictetus taught that suffering doesn't come from events themselves but from the desire to control things outside your power. In real life, this is the heartbreak you experience when you chase someone who isn't aligned with you. It's the frustration you feel when you attach your happiness to situations you cannot predict. It's the emotional pain that comes from needing people to act a certain way. When you stop trying to control the uncontrollable, you free yourself. You regain your mental focus. You reclaim your emotional strength. Doors begin to open because you're no longer blocking your own path with fear and obsession. Your energy rises, your intuition sharpens, your decisions become clearer. You stop living as a victim of circumstances and start living as a creator of outcomes. This shift alone attracts everything you once chased. This rule is the foundation of manifestation because it rebuilds your power from the inside out. When you direct your attention toward mastery instead of control, life begins to align with your efforts. What you seek starts moving toward you. The opportunities you once struggled to reach now feel natural. The relationships you once begged for become unnecessary. When you stop forcing and start focusing, everything changes. And if this speaks to you, if you want to develop the mindset that attracts instead of chases, do one simple thing: subscribe to the Inner Fortress. Every message here is crafted to elevate your mind, strengthen your spirit, and align your life with the outcomes you desire. Stay with me until the end. The real transformation begins with the next rule. Rule 2. Master your emotions before they master you. Most people never manifest what they want because their emotions lead them into chaos instead of clarity. Stoicism teaches that the mind cannot create anything meaningful while being controlled by anger, fear, insecurity, jealousy, or anxiety. Marcus Aurelius warned that a person ruled by emotion is like a city without walls, exposed, fragile, easily invaded by negativity. Real life shows this everywhere. People sabotage opportunities because they react too quickly. People push away good relationships because they can't control their triggers. People make terrible decisions when overwhelmed. Mastering your emotions doesn't mean suppressing them, it means understanding them. It means allowing yourself to feel, but not allowing feelings to dictate your destiny. Manifestation requires stability, and stability begins with emotional discipline. Seneca taught that emotions are powerful, but the person who learns to pause becomes far more powerful. Think of how many situations would have turned out differently if you had stayed calm. The argument that ruined a relationship. The frustration that caused you to quit too early. The fear that kept you from applying for an opportunity. Emotional reactions close doors, but emotional mastery opens them. Einstein's greatest discoveries came during moments of calm reflection, not emotional storms. When your emotions settle, your intelligence rises. You see solutions instead of problems. You see patterns instead of confusion. You see opportunities where others see obstacles. Mastery of emotion is mastery of perception, and perception shapes your reality. Epictetus said that no event harms you, only your interpretation does. Real life proves this. Two people can face the same situation, but one collapses while the other grows. What makes the difference? Emotional maturity. When you stop reacting to life and start responding, you shift from survival mode to creator mode. You begin choosing your actions instead of letting your impulses choose for you. You stop overthinking situations that don't deserve your energy. You stop giving people the power to control your mood. You stop letting temporary feelings create permanent damage. Your emotions become indicators, not dictators. They guide you, but they no longer mislead you. This shift makes you magnetic. Calm people attract clarity, opportunities, respect, and alignment. Emotional mastery is the foundation of manifestation because the universe responds to your inner state, not your desperation. When your emotions become balanced, your decisions become wiser. When your decisions improve, your path becomes clearer. When your path becomes clearer, manifesting becomes natural. You no longer block your blessings with fear or sabotage them with impatience. You become grounded, steady, unshakable, and this inner stillness becomes a magnet for every good thing coming your way. Emotional discipline is not just strength, it is strategy. It shapes your relationships, your income, your peace, your confidence, and your destiny. Master your emotions, and you master your life. Rule 3. Detach from the outcome, commit to the process. Most people fail not because their goals are impossible, but because their attachment suffocates the journey. Stoicism teaches that desire becomes destructive when it becomes obsession. When you cling too tightly, you block the natural flow of life. Marcus Aurelius said that if something is meant for you, it will come through alignment, not force. Real life shows this truth everywhere. The person who is desperate for love repels it. The person who is obsessed with success overlooks the steps required to achieve it. The person who wants immediate results often quits too early. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring, it means you stop clinging. You stop letting the outcome dictate your mood. You stop tying your self-worth to results. You commit to the journey with excellence, and you let life handle the timing. Seneca taught that anxiety comes from imagining the future instead of fully living the present. When you attach too strongly to outcomes, you create unnecessary pressure. You start thinking, what if I fail? Instead of, what can I do today? Real-life examples are everywhere. Think of the student who panics about grades instead of studying. Think of the entrepreneur who fears failure so much that they never begin. Think of the individual who prays for opportunities but refuses to prepare. Detachment shifts your attention from worry to action. Einstein believed that breakthroughs come not from force but from relaxed, focused exploration. When you detach, your creativity expands. You see paths that were invisible when you were stressed. You become open, receptive, inspired, and inspiration is the heartbeat of manifestation. Epictetus said to focus on your effort, because outcomes belong to life, not to you. Real life confirms this. When you focus on the process, you grow. You improve your skills. You strengthen your discipline. You build resilience. You become someone capable of receiving the outcome you want. The athlete doesn't manifest victory by dreaming, they do it by training. The writer doesn't manifest a book by wishing, they do it by writing daily. The person who wants better relationships doesn't manifest love by waiting, they do it by becoming emotionally healthy. When you commit to the work instead of the outcome, life rewards you. Opportunities show up unexpectedly. People appear who support your journey. Doors open that force would never have opened. Detachment is not giving up, it is giving space for miracles to breathe. Detachment is the state of trusting life while doing your part with excellence. It is the ability to say, I will give everything I have, but I won't lose myself in the pursuit. This makes you powerful. It makes you unpressured. It makes you patient. It makes you consistent. And consistency, not perfection, is the engine of manifestation. When you detach, your mind stays clear. Your spirit stays peaceful. Your energy stays high. You no longer chase outcomes, outcomes begin to chase you. And that is how every blessing, every opportunity, and every breakthrough finds you. Naturally, effortlessly, and in perfect timing. Rule 4. Protect your energy and your environment. Your energy is the most valuable resource you possess, because everything you manifest flows from it. Your decisions, your confidence, your relationships, your creativity, your purpose. Yet most people allow anyone or anything to drain it without thinking twice. Marcus Aurelius wrote that your mind takes the shape of whatever you consistently allow into your life. If you surround yourself with people who gossip, doubt, sabotage, complain, or envy, that energy will eventually poison your spirit. Real life proves this painfully. Your motivation dies when you constantly absorb negativity. Your dreams shrink when you share them with small minds. Your peace dissolves when you entertain people who thrive on chaos. Protecting your energy is not about being distant or cold. It is about refusing to compromise your mental health for the comfort of others. Seneca warned that a single negative influence can corrupt even the strongest soul. Think of how drained you feel after spending time with someone who constantly criticizes everything you do. Think of how emotionally exhausted you become around people who depend on your strength but offer no support in return. Think of how your self-esteem drops when surrounded by those who want you to stay exactly where you are. Your environment plays the role of silent architect, shaping your habits, your beliefs, your identity. Einstein believed the mind thrives in simplicity and stability, not chaos. When your environment is filled with drama, conflict, and noise, your creative power shuts down. Protecting your energy means choosing environments that nurture your growth rather than environments that feed your weakness. Epictetus taught that you must separate yourself from anything that interrupts your inner progress. This means distancing yourself from relationships that drain you, habits that distract you, and environments that block your evolution. Real life shows the necessity of this separation. You cannot heal in a place where you were broken. You cannot grow around people who diminish your potential. You cannot elevate while holding onto connections that anchor you to old versions of yourself. Protecting your energy means creating boundaries, not walls. It means stepping away from situations that disturb your spirit. It means choosing peace over familiarity, progress over comfort, alignment over attachment. Sometimes you must leave people behind to return to yourself. Protecting your energy transforms your life because you become intentional about what enters your mind and spirit. When you choose supportive environments, your dreams feel more achievable. When you surround yourself with determined people, your discipline strengthens. When you reduce noise, your intuition becomes louder. As your energy rises, so does your ability to manifest. You begin attracting relationships that uplift you, opportunities that align with you, and experiences that elevate you. Your environment either builds your destiny or destroys it, and you alone decide which path your life takes. Protect your energy the way you protect your future, because the two are inseparable. Rule 5. Practice intentional silence and inner stillness. Silence is where your real power begins. In a world that constantly demands your attention, your reactions, your explanations, and your emotional availability, intentional silence becomes a rare form of strength. Marcus Aurelius used silence as a weapon, a way to observe before acting, a way to understand before deciding, a way to prepare before responding. Silence is not emptiness, it is the space where your mind resets. Real life proves this. When you step away from noise, your thoughts settle. Your emotions stop racing. Your clarity returns. The problems that felt overwhelming begin to shrink. In silence, you reconnect with yourself, the version of you that is intuitive, grounded, wise, and capable. Stillness is where manifestation takes root because your mind needs quiet to build the life you want. Seneca said that silence is a sanctuary where the mind repairs itself from the damages of everyday chaos. Think about how drained you feel when you give your attention to too many people, conversations, expectations, and conflicts. The mind becomes overloaded, and your inner world becomes foggy. But a moment of silence, a walk alone, a quiet morning, a few minutes away from your phone, works like medicine. You suddenly understand what matters and what doesn't. You suddenly see which relationships hold value and which ones drain your joy. You suddenly recognize decisions you've been avoiding. Einstein often credited his breakthroughs to silent reflection. He believed noise destroys creativity, but silence reveals solutions that logic alone cannot find. Epictetus believed that silence is the highest form of self-control. Anyone can speak, anyone can react, anyone can argue, but the wise know when to be still. Stillness protects you from emotional decisions. It protects you from unnecessary conflict. It protects you from revealing your plans to people who may sabotage them. Silence allows you to observe people's true intentions because you're no longer distracted by your own responses. Real-life examples make this clear. The person who speaks less hears more. The person who reacts less understands more. The person who sits in silence after disappointment heals faster. Silence teaches patience, and patience creates alignment. The universe responds differently to people who are calm enough to listen. Stillness is the foundation of manifestation because it gives you the mental space to visualize, plan, and align your life with your goals. When your inner world is quiet, your intuition becomes louder. You begin making decisions that strengthen you instead of weaken you. You start saying no without guilt and yes without fear. You stop chasing outcomes and start attracting opportunities. Silence makes you magnetic. People notice your calm, your clarity, your confidence. Stillness changes your energy, and your energy changes your reality. Practice intentional silence daily. Even a few minutes can transform your clarity, your emotional strength, and your entire future. Stillness is not a weakness, it is the birthplace of every blessing coming your way. Rule 6. See obstacles as the path, not the problem. Every life contains struggle, but very few people understand its purpose. Stoicism teaches that obstacles are not interruptions, they are instructions. Marcus Aurelius wrote that, "What stands in the way becomes the way," a reminder that the situations you fear, avoid, or resent are the exact experiences designed to prepare you for the life you want. Real life proves this repeatedly. The breakup that shattered you eventually gave you standards. The job loss that scared you eventually forced you into your purpose. The betrayal that broke your heart eventually sharpened your intuition. Obstacles refine you. They strengthen your character, expose your weaknesses, build your resilience, and prepare you for blessings that require maturity, not naivete. When you stop seeing challenges as punishment and start seeing them as a path, you evolve into someone capable of manifesting greatness. Seneca warned that comfort weakens the spirit, but adversity strengthens it. Many people want success without discomfort, clarity without confusion, healing without pain, confidence without failure. But real life doesn't work that way. Everything valuable requires a struggle. The butterfly must fight its cocoon. The seed must break through soil. The mind must break old beliefs to grow. Every challenge you face is shaping you. Even Einstein often mentioned that his breakthroughs came after long periods of frustration. The mind becomes sharper when stretched. Obstacles reveal parts of you that comfort cannot reach. What feels heavy today becomes the wisdom you will use tomorrow. What feels stressful today becomes the strength that will carry you years from now. Nothing is wasted. Epictetus taught that suffering becomes unbearable only when you refuse to understand its purpose. Many people resist growth because growth requires discomfort. They complain about difficulties instead of asking what the difficulty is trying to teach them. Real life displays this truth clearly. The person who blames the world never changes, but the person who examines themselves transforms. The painful relationship taught you boundaries. The financial hardship taught you discipline. The failure taught you strategy. The loss taught you gratitude. Obstacles are not obstacles, they are training. They are preparation. They are sharpening your mind so you stop settling for less. They are broadening your perspective so your vision expands. They are toughening your spirit so you can carry what you're praying for. Seeing obstacles as the way will change your destiny. You begin responding with clarity instead of panic, patience instead of anger, confidence instead of doubt. You stop feeling cursed and start feeling prepared. You stop asking, "Why me?" and start asking, "What is this shaping me for?" When you embrace adversity, you transform it. You grow into someone the universe can trust with more. And in this shift, this mature acceptance, manifestation becomes natural. Because life rewards those who don't run from challenges, but rise through them. Rule 7. Discipline your desires and strengthen your will. What you desire can elevate you or destroy you depending on your discipline. Stoicism teaches that undisciplined desire is the root of suffering, the craving for instant gratification, validation, comfort, approval, pleasure, or shortcuts. Marcus Aurelius believed that self-control was the highest form of freedom because a person who cannot control their desires becomes a prisoner to them. Real life shows this everywhere. People sabotage potential because they can't resist distraction. People lose relationships because they can't control impulses. People abandon goals because comfort is more tempting than growth. You cannot manifest greatness with weak desires or a weak will. Discipline is what turns dreams into results, intentions into habits, and potential into reality. Seneca explained that desire without discipline leads to chaos, because you become ruled by everything outside you. The desire for attention makes you ignore your worth. The desire for comfort stops your progress. The desire for approval kills your identity. The desire for quick results pushes you into frustration. Real life proves this daily. The person who cannot say no to temptation loses focus. The person who chooses comfort over consistency loses momentum. The person who always seeks pleasure over purpose loses direction. But when you discipline your desires, when you tell yourself, not now, not this, or, not anymore, you take back control of your destiny. You begin choosing what strengthens you instead of what weakens you. That choice changes everything. Epictetus taught that the strong do what is necessary even when they don't feel like it. That is the essence of discipline. You show up when motivation is gone. You practice when no one sees you. You choose patience instead of urgency. You choose stability instead of impulse. Real life examples are everywhere. The person who wakes up early to build their future even when tired. The person who controls their emotions instead of reacting. The person who invests time in learning instead of scrolling. The person who protects their goals from distraction. These individuals are not lucky, they are disciplined. And because they are disciplined, manifestation becomes inevitable. Discipline is magic disguised as effort. It multiplies results quietly. Einstein believed that willpower and focus were far more important than talent. A disciplined mind becomes unstoppable. When you discipline your desires, you gain emotional control, clarity, consistency, and strength. You stop falling for temporary pleasures and start building long-term blessings. You stop wasting energy on distractions and start channeling it into your purpose. You stop hoping for change and start creating it. Discipline turns you into the version of yourself that your future needs. And when your actions finally match your potential, the universe responds. Everything you want begins moving toward you because you have become someone who can handle it. Rule 8. Turn pain into wisdom, not bitterness. Pain is one of the greatest teachers life will ever give you, but most people run from it, deny it, suppress it, or drown in it. Stoicism teaches that pain is not meant to break you, it is meant to wake you. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the wound is where the light enters, reminding us that every painful event carries a message, a shift, a lesson, or a transformation you could not access in comfort. Real life shows this clearly. Heartbreak teaches you boundaries, betrayal teaches you discernment, loss teaches you gratitude, and disappointment teaches you patience. Pain exposes what you ignored, reveals what you misunderstood, and clears away what was never aligned with your destiny. When you allow pain to teach you instead of hardening you, you grow in ways you never imagined. You become wiser, stronger, sharper, and more aware of your true path. Seneca warned that pain becomes destructive only when you interpret it incorrectly. Bitterness transforms pain into poison, but wisdom transforms pain into power. Real life proves this. The person who becomes bitter after being betrayed closes their heart and blocks future love. The person who becomes bitter after failing stops trying and misses opportunities. The person who becomes bitter after loss stops trusting life. But the person who chooses growth instead of bitterness becomes unstoppable. They rise with a deeper understanding of life. They become more compassionate, more intuitive, more resilient. Pain becomes the tool that shapes their character. Einstein believed that adversity was essential for developing intelligence because hardship forces creative adaptation. Pain pushes you into a higher version of yourself if you allow it. Epictetus taught that suffering comes not from what happens to you, but from the story you tell yourself about what happened. When you say, "This broke me," you shrink. When you say, "This shaped me," you rise. Pain is unavoidable, but suffering is optional. Real life displays this beautifully. Two people can experience the same heartbreak, the same failure, the same loss, yet one turns it into trauma and the other turns it into transformation. The difference isn't luck, it's interpretation. When you embrace pain with maturity, it becomes guidance. It reveals what needs healing. It exposes unhealthy patterns. It strengthens emotional muscles you never knew you had. Pain becomes wisdom the moment you stop asking, "Why me?" and start asking, "What is this teaching me?" Turning pain into wisdom changes the trajectory of your entire life. You stop repeating cycles because you learn the lesson instead of reliving the emotion. You stop attracting the same kind of people because your standards elevate. You stop fearing the future because you survived your past. Pain becomes your mentor instead of your enemy. You no longer break down, you break open. And from that opening, new strength rises. New clarity rises. New identity rises. Everything you want in life becomes easier to manifest because you are no longer carrying bitterness or emotional heaviness. You are clean, clear, grounded, and ready. Pain that becomes wisdom becomes fuel, and that fuel will carry you into your destiny. Rule 9. Act with integrity even when no one sees you. Integrity is one of the most powerful forces in manifestation, because the universe responds not to who you pretend to be, but to who you truly are when no one is watching. Marcus Aurelius wrote that character is the foundation of destiny, and character is revealed in silence, in private, in the unseen moments where you choose discipline over comfort, honesty over convenience, and principle over impulse. Real life shows this clearly. A person who cheats in small things will sabotage big opportunities. A person who lies to themselves cannot manifest truth. A person who cuts corners in private will fall apart in public. Integrity is alignment between what you say, what you do, and who you are. When your inner world becomes consistent, your outer world becomes abundant. Seneca believed that the soul becomes heavy when your actions conflict with your values. Many people struggle not because life is unfair, but because their internal integrity is fractured. They want success but avoid discipline. They want respect but act from insecurity. They want love but behave without consistency. Integrity is the silent architecture of manifestation. Real life proves this. The person who practices their craft when no one cares eventually becomes a master. The person who stays loyal to their goals even when tired eventually surpasses those who relied on talent alone. The person who honors their promises, both to themselves and others, becomes trustworthy, and trust attracts opportunity. Even Einstein believed that integrity was the foundation of genius, because a mind burdened by secrets or dishonesty cannot think clearly. Epictetus taught that you cannot hide from your own conscience, and your conscience shapes your destiny. When you act without integrity, your spirit becomes divided. Decisions become uncertain, confidence becomes unstable, but when you act honestly, even in small things, your inner world becomes strong and unified. Real life shows this transformation. The person who stops lying to themselves starts improving quickly. The person who takes responsibility instead of blaming others becomes powerful. The person who does the right thing, even when it's the hard thing, becomes unshakable. Integrity eliminates guilt, confusion, self-doubt, and inner conflict. It creates mental clarity, emotional stability, and spiritual strength. And these qualities make manifestation smooth and natural. Integrity is the secret ingredient that turns effort into results. When your actions align with your values, you become magnetic. You attract people who respect you, opportunities that match you, and situations that elevate you. You no longer struggle with the fear of being exposed, because there is nothing to expose. You no longer live with the burden of pretending, because authenticity becomes your freedom. Integrity makes your energy clean, and clean energy attracts clean blessings. Life flows more easily, decisions become clearer, confidence becomes natural. The universe gives generously to people who live honestly. When your private actions match your public desires, everything you want begins moving toward you with surprising speed. Integrity is not old-fashioned, it is the key to destiny. Rule 10. Trust timing. Everything meant for you arrives without force. One of the greatest tests of your strength is your ability to trust timing, to move forward with intention, without anxiety, without rushing destiny, and without forcing outcomes. Stoicism teaches that life operates with precision, not chaos. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the universe is always unfolding for your benefit, even when you lack the perspective to see the purpose behind the timing. Real life proves this. That relationship that broke your heart didn't fail, it freed you. That job that didn't work out wasn't rejection, it was redirection. That delay in your progress wasn't punishment, it was preparation. When you trust timing, you stop battling the natural flow of your life. You stop trying to drag life forward faster than it's meant to go. You learn to move with seasons instead of resisting them. And in that acceptance, peace arises. Seneca warned that the person who demands immediate results blinds themselves to the lessons that shape maturity. Impatience makes you misread opportunities, pressure makes you overlook wisdom. Life is not withholding from you, life is shaping you. Think of the seed buried in soil. It cannot bloom the next day, it must endure darkness, pressure, and silence before the first sign of growth. The same is true for your dreams. Real life shows this pattern everywhere. The person who grows slowly grows deeply. The person who stays patient develops roots. The person who stops forcing life discovers that everything they truly needed begins arriving with a different kind of ease. Einstein believed that breakthroughs come only when the mind relaxes, not when it is tense, afraid, or restless. Timing cannot bless a chaotic mind, it blesses a prepared one. Epictetus taught that what is not meant for you will exhaust you, confuse you, or constantly slip away. What is meant for you arrives with clarity, alignment, and peace. Real life displays this truth every day. The right people do not make you question your worth. The right opportunities do not require you to abandon your values. The right decisions do not create emotional chaos. When something is meant for you, it flows. When something is not meant for you, it feels forced. Your only responsibility is preparation of your character, habits, emotions, discipline, and mindset. When you are aligned internally, the external world begins aligning around you. Life has a strange way of opening doors the moment you stop banging on the wrong ones. The most powerful force you can develop is surrender, not passive surrender, but intelligent surrender, the willingness to let go of what isn't aligned and trust what is. Trusting timing transforms the way you live. You move with calm intention. You stop comparing your journey to others. You stop chasing what distracts you. You stop punishing yourself for not being further ahead. You begin understanding that delays are often disguised blessings. You feel guided instead of lost. Your energy carries confidence instead of fear. This shift is what makes manifestation real, because a calm, grounded, patient spirit becomes magnetic. Everything meant for you begins moving toward you naturally: opportunities, relationships, clarity, breakthroughs, peace, growth. When you trust timing, you stop living on the edge of anxiety and start living in the center of alignment. And that is the point where everything finally begins to fall into place. Before you leave this video, pause for a moment and allow yourself to feel the shift happening inside you. You didn't come this far by accident. Something in you is changing, becoming wiser, calmer, sharper, stronger, more grounded, more centered. You've just absorbed 10 timeless Stoic rules that have changed empires, shaped leaders, guided thinkers, and strengthened millions of people across history. Marcus Aurelius used these truths to stay steady in chaos. Seneca used them to navigate uncertainty. Epictetus used them to rise above hardship. Even Einstein leaned on these principles to remain focused and creative in a noisy world. Now these principles belong to you. They are your tools, your armor, your compass, your new way of walking through life. As you move forward, carry these lessons with you. Let them shape your decisions. Let them steady your emotions. Let them raise your standards. Let them attract the kind of life you deserve, a life built on inner strength, not fear. On clarity, not confusion, on intention, not chaos. And before you go, I'm asking you for one small favor, a favor that supports your own growth. Right finger subscribe to the Inner Fortress. Subscribe so you never lose momentum on this journey of self-mastery. Subscribe so you stay connected to the wisdom that keeps you grounded. Subscribe so your mind receives the nourishment it needs to rise every day. Thank you for staying until the end. Your new chapter begins right now.